If you listen carefully, these tips might actually save your life. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you 5 of my personal tips which I've used to travel the globe as a solo female, blonde-haired, green-eyed traveler. And when I say travel anywhere, I really do mean you can travel anywhere in the world. I've been to countries like Iraq, I've been to Yemen, I lived in India for 2 years, I lived in Cairo during the Egyptian Revolution. So I've seen a few things. This was all me traveling around solo as a blonde white woman. So if I can do it, then definitely anyone can do it. And if you follow these tips, and some of them might seem a little bit like common sense, but there's a difference between knowing it and actually doing it. And let me tell you, these are going to help you a lot. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and also comment down below if you have any other safety tips or stories which you would be comfortable to share with us so that we can kind of learn from you. I really appreciate it. I'm originally from California, but I actually left California and the USA more than 10 years ago when I started working internationally with horses. And I've worked in countries like Egypt and India and Romania and Bhutan, and I've ridden horses in Mongolia and all kinds of places. And when it comes to my safety, I've always prioritized my safety. But the thing is, I didn't always have all of the answers. So I had to learn a lot of these skills and a lot of tools, which is why we have a women's travel safety course. If you haven't already done it, I would suggest that you check it out. It's very inexpensive, so I'm gonna include a link down below if that's something that you want to hear my personal stories and learn from me the exact methods that you can use, especially if you're traveling to, let's say, the Middle East or somewhere like India. I've been all around the world on almost every country now. Sorry, almost every continent now. So I will kind of break it down based on the different cultures and customs and religion that I've encountered. I speak Arabic and I speak all kinds of different languages when I lived in those countries. So I'm definitely going to break it down and make it a little bit more specific during the course. But in this video, the aim is to give you some tools which you can apply to every country, every culture, and every custom. It doesn't really matter. In fact, you can even apply these in the USA because a lot of this stuff, women get attacked or have bad things happen to them everywhere. There is no such thing as a completely safe country. So you always need to be vigilant, you always need to be aware, and these tools are definitely going to be something that I hope you will follow and that you will be able to use them when and if, hopefully never, the time should arise. Number 1, you need to put away your phone. Now, I know that having our smartphones is very addictive, they're very useful for many reasons, but when you're traveling, it's actually not a wise thing to just sit in a cafe, for example, and just bury your head in a phone without actually observing and being aware of what's going on around you. Especially if it's a place that you don't know, you're not familiar with, or maybe it's getting close to dark, maybe it's almost evening time and it's time for you to be making your way home. You never know who might be watching you, who might be kind of preying upon you, and you're not going to notice these little subtle cues if you are playing on your phone. Now, obviously, in the comfort of your hotel room or whatever, like do whatever it is that you want, but when you're out and you're on the streets and you're walking around, unless you're kind of checking your map briefly or something like that, I would keep your phone in a safe place, preferably zipped away, locked tight somewhere that someone can't actually grab it from you. But you need to be aware and you need to be looking around at all times, and distracting yourself in a phone is one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of women making in their travels. The second thing which you need to master, and again, this is one of those, it seems like common sense, but for some reason as women, we're kind of ingrained not to do this. And I don't know why, but for some reason, it's really hard for us as women to say this word. And that word is no. And what I mean by that is, if, for example, you're trying to haggle a taxi, or you're trying to, go to your hotel, or you're trying to do this, we have this really bad tendency of not wanting to say no because, well, I don't know, we just don't. We want to make that other person feel good, we want to be, pleasing, we want to smile, we want to be friendly, we want to make friends. We have a really hard time saying the words no, even if it's very uncomfortable for us. And for example, I've met a lot of girls, they were in a taxi that they should not have been in, and the man was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, And instead of her saying no or, pull over, dude, she for some reason tolerated it. And, unfortunately, I hear this happening a lot and a lot and a lot. And it's awful. Like, it shouldn't be happening, but you need to use that voice inside of you and say, no, drop me off here, or, whatever it is that you're trying to do. If something comes up and you are uncomfortable, you need to say the words no. Number 3 is going along with the lines of no, don't be a people pleaser. And again, for women, that's really hard. We're very motherly, we care for others, we're very empathetic, and sometimes it's really hard for us to not be people pleasers. And yes, there are friendly people around the world. I mean, some of the friendliest people I've ever met were in Iraq and in Yemen and different places. Places where a lot of people are probably scared of going, and there are risks, obviously, but there's a lot of friendly people in the world. But the problem is, there's a lot of times where we want to be people pleasers and we want to just kind of go along with it and go with the flow. We don't want to kind of scratch, the surface kind of thing. Like, we want to just kind of be everybody's best friends and pals. And we have a really hard time with this, as women, most of us. And you might think that you don't, because I'm a very fiery, independent kind of person, but I did notice in my travels that there was a lot of situations where I was trying to be polite, I didn't want to seem rude, and I didn't know the customs or the culture in the beginning, so I was kind of probably going along with things that I thought, like, is that okay? Like, I don't really know. I don't want to step on any toes here. I don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to make drama. And in the beginning, that actually is what harmed me. So it wasn't until I actually stopped people pleasing, and obviously I learned the customs and I knew what was okay and what wasn't okay. But you need to just, don't be worried about stepping on toes. Don't be worried about looking rude. I mean, you're probably never going to see that person again. It doesn't matter if you're rude, if your safety is at concern. Number 4, use your instincts. Now, what are your instincts and how do you know if you're gonna follow them? Basically, it's that little gut feeling, okay? It's in your stomach or just above your stomach, and it feels like I probably shouldn't be doing that. I probably shouldn't be getting in that taxi. I probably shouldn't be booking a night in that sketchy hotel. I probably shouldn't be walking down that street alone. That is your gut instincts, and when we ignore them, and we ignore that little red flag waving, that is unfortunately when bad things happen. We have instincts for a reason, and you need to use them. And number 5, always have a plan B. And I'm gonna use the hotel as an example, because when, it's funny, like, I was traveling a lot in, let's say, Southeast Asia, and the boys, these backpackers, they were trying to be cheap, and some of the places that they were staying in, when I saw them, I knew immediately, and again, it was my gut instinct, I knew I cannot stay here. And yes, it's cheap and it's very tempting, but if I was to do that, I would be putting myself in risk. And as much as their stories sounded fun and everything, I mean, one boy was sleeping in a hammock that he had tied between 2 palm trees in the middle of this village. And I was like, that's a great story for you. I do not feel safe as a solo 21-year-old woman to be doing that here, because I've seen how the men are looking at me. So, I obviously didn't have that option, and I needed to spend a little bit more money for an actual hotel that was suitable and had a working locking door. So always have a plan B, because if you show up to that hotel, and this has happened to me, and it looks sketchy or it doesn't look right, you don't want to just go with it. You don't want to people please. You don't want to, just do it. Just be like, oh, it's just one night. Don't try and rationalize it, okay? If you're in that situation, you need to have a plan B. You need to say, oh, you know what? That's not going to work for me. Pull out your phone, whatever, go to the next plan B, okay? Find the next hotel or the next place, whatever it is, do plan B. Okay, don't just settle for plan A because it's convenient. Always have a plan B. And then the last and final tip, which I'm going to give you kind of as a little bonus, is don't be afraid to walk away. Now, in that example that I used with that really sketchy hotel, it was actually in the red light district in Singapore. Don't tell me how I ended up there, but when I saw it, and I wish I had read the reviews on booking.com or whatever, it was pretty bad. And I knew that that was not going to be good. This is actually a different scenario. And, when I saw it, my heart sank, because Singapore is an expensive country. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have the money to go to another hotel. But I followed my instincts and I walked away. And even though I didn't have a plan B, my new plan was I'm just gonna wander around out of the red light district until I can find a hotel, hopefully, which is in my budget, and that's what I'm gonna do because I'm not going to settle with that. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't have a plan B, that was my mistake, but you know what? I wasn't afraid to walk away even though I didn't have a backup, and I went on a little hunt and I found myself another place to stay, and you know what? I'm happy I made that decision. Do me a favor and hit that like button if you found these tips helpful, and also share this video with a friend, especially a friend who might be interested in traveling or is traveling, because these skills and tools might actually save her life. And I can't tell you how thankful I would have been to have come across this information when I first started traveling, because I was getting a lot of wrong information and misinformation from stupid guidebooks, and let me tell you, it wasn't helpful at all. So thank you so much for watching and happy trails.